I want to talk about Selling the City, Southern Hospitality, and the problem with settling for the nice guy. So, I don't know if anyone else is watching Selling the City, Netflix's new Selling Sunset spin-off set in New York. I am, because apparently I will watch anything, but we're introduced to Taylor, who works under Eleonora, and I can make another video if anyone else is watching this show. Basically, Taylor says that she's having some marital issues with her husband, Peter. One of the things that I thought was really interesting is that she makes a point of saying that, like, she always dated these, like, giant football player blonde guys, but she decided that she was gonna go for a nice guy, right? She said, I was not attracted to him, but he was really nice, and they got married. They've been married for 10 years, and now he hates her. The last part is not explicitly stated on the show, but it is, if you have two eyes and you like comprehend things, it is very clear that this man cannot stand her. Obviously, there are other factors going into it. She says that she works a lot and she's always on her phone and she makes more money than him. So it's harder for her to like not work and not be on her phone since she is bringing in so much of the income in New York City, especially, which is a very, very expensive city. And in real estate, which is like, you don't make a salary depending on where you work, right? You make money off commission. But it's interesting that she is, a conventionally attractive, beautiful woman. And she's like, I decided to date this guy because he was really nice. Now, 10 years later, she's begging him to be nice to her, to pay attention to her. In all of their scenes together, he physically cannot look at her. He cannot wait to get away from her. There's a birthday party where he chastises her for being too much. I have a lot of female followers. I know you guys know what I'm talking about. At that point where you feel yourself like extending for the relationship and the guy is like completely closed off. It's hard to have these conversations, right? Especially me, because I have made like a dozen videos about the curse of like pretty privilege and how I don't believe that you should only choose your partner based on attraction, right? Like, I'm never the one who's like, only date guys who are 6'5" and make 200K. Like, that is incel logic. But it is also very hard to watch like Taylor, who left her principles and decided to date this guy, and this guy fucking hates her. He like loathes her. He doesn't want to have a baby with her, even though she is the breadwinner, even though she is much more beautiful than him. He is like, I cannot wait to get away from you. Maybe he's uncomfortable with the cameras. Maybe there's a lot of other stuff going on that I'm just like not understanding. But based off of the show, based off what I saw with my eyes, I would advise her to run. But of course, she's not running. She is now in fertility treatment and she wants to have a baby with this guy, even though to everyone in America who is watching the show, it is very clear that he is not it for her. If you watch Southern Hospitality, you know that Joe Bradley has had a crush on Maddie for 2 years. She dated Trevor, who like cheated on her nonstop, and she refused to believe it. And now they're together. They got together in the off season, aka cameras were down. Like, we didn't see them get together. Season 3 started and they're just together. Something that was very interesting to me is that on a podcast recently, Maddie said, I chose Joe because I never wanted to put myself in that position again, right? I already dated a guy who cheats and I would never put myself in that position, which is interesting because she's dating this guy who is very, very nice to her, who's very, very sweet, who's been obsessed with her for 2 years, but he does have a history of cheating. This episode that just aired last week, he said he has cheated on every single one of his ex-girlfriends. So part of me is wondering, is this like a showmance? Like, is she doing this because he is the nice guy and he's always been there and she just didn't want to be alone? Or is there like actual chemistry there that like bubbled up? I don't know. Obviously, I'm not in this relationship, but it is interesting that we are seeing this like perspective from when you're in your 20s versus when you're in your 30s, right? Taylor did the thing that she thought you were supposed to do. She's like, I'm not going to date these guys who are bad for me. I'm going to date like this very nice guy. And now 10 years later, he hates her. So I'm just curious to see where Maddie and Joe are going to end up if like the case for settling is not necessarily making a case for itself right now. And if I got lost in the weeds there, basically what I'm trying to say is that Maddie saying that she dated this guy because he's nice and he's in love with her doesn't necessarily save her from the fact that he might hurt her, especially because he has a very, very, very explicit history of cheating.